of former Senator Laila De Lima will appeal the dismissal of her bail petition before a Muntinlupa court.
Again, justice delayed is justice denied. Our sister continues to be denied justice, to continue to be denied her freedom. So we hope and pray that she will be free very, very soon.
Justice Secretary Boying Remulla believes that the legal team of former Senator De Lima is taking too many risks.
We would not have objected if there is a petition for bail based on humanitarian grounds, because siya, after all, 6 years na siya. Pero mas gusto nila magpasikat ng gano'n eh. O kaya magparinig at magpahiwatig na ang tingin nila kayang-kaya nila yung kaso. Habeas corpus should have been put in issue, at yung 6 na taon in detention should have been the reason, not the weakness of the evidence or the strength of the evidence.
And yet another letdown for former Senator Laila De Lima. A Muntinlupa court recently denied her bail petition, and while her lawyers are set to appeal the decision, the former lawmaker's fight for freedom is still far from over. What else and what more can De Lima's legal team do for their client, who's now languishing in detention after more than 6 years? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao. With me tonight in the studio, Robbie Lampaya of One News, Ana Marie Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and of course, Luchicus Valdez, the head of News 5. Chiefs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, anong natin?
Balita. Nagulat ba kayo? Yan ang akala ng mga tao. Ang kumakalat na chismis nung Monday ay pakakawalan daw pagbibigyan daw yung bail.
Oo nga
So medyo baliktad yung
the premise kasi
Saka
of most
parang
people,
may momentum na kasi.
Yes.
And the premise kasi of most people is the second case na dismissed dahil nag-recant.
Yes.
Ragos, saka si
Right.
Ronnie Dayan. They were expecting a similar decision for the bail for the third case.
Yes.
It turns out, you're looking at a different set of witnesses pala.
Oo nga. At saka considering yung offer ng government, di ba?
Yeah.
Initially, they were open to giving her
Habeas
yun nga.
corpus.
Diba?
Habeas
O
corpus.
kaya, kung gusto niya, house
House
arrest
arrest.
nga daw, di ba? Which the legal team rejected nga lang.
But apart from this latest development or non-development, ano ba yung ano yung distinction nitong kasong to, this particular third
the
case
two others.
from the two others na wala na?
Among others, you have a different set of witnesses, and also iba yung timelines. Si Attorney Dillon can explain better later kasi certain you look at 3 cases. Some of the cases involve from this year to this year. Then another case involves this year to this year, and so on down the line.
But the charges are all essentially the same.
Hindi, di ba ito yung conspiracy?
They're all conspiracy pala.
All conspiracy.
They're all conspiracy. Pero may slight nuancing lang dun sa cases because nga magkakaiba yung timelines eh. Well, the argument of the defense is that dapat kinonsolidate
Dapat
na lang yan. Kasi
kinonsolidate.
in the end, it's all looking at basically the same thing.
Yes.
Allegation of drug trafficking na pinagkakitaan daw ng dating senadora
And
Yeah.
used for political
for the campaign of
And
2016.
it's also an important point because this is precisely what the defense and the human rights advocates are saying, di ba? Parang kung kinonsolidate niyo yan and you really treated everything as the same thing, pare-pareho rin, dapat on the fact of what happened dun sa previous 2 cases, dapat wala na to eh.
Oo. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of interesting points that we can and we should be talking about tonight. I suppose we should bring. Sige, we will bring in our first guest for tonight right after the short break. The Chiefs will be right back.
And joining us this evening, Attorney Dino De Leon, lawyer to former Senator Laila De Lima. Good evening. Welcome back, the Chiefs, Attorney De Leon.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Attorney.
Attorney, hindi ko po alam kung naririnig niyo yung usapan namin kanina, but we want to take this opportunity na rin as we check in on your thoughts about this denial of bail for Senator Laila De Lima to maybe give us a briefer na rin dahil marami na rin nililito. People have been following yung mga na-dismiss, the 2 cases na wala na, ito yung pangatlo na natitira. Before we get into your thoughts on the denial of bail per se, ano po ba pagkakaiba nito? Remind our viewers what is distinct about this case, if any, from the previous 2.
The difference is in terms of timeline. So, meron silang mga kinuha kasing mga witnesses, diba? Different witnesses from the National Bilibid Prison. And meron silang mga iba-ibang kwento, no, in terms of timeline. So, ginawa ng prosecution dito 3 kaso na different ang timelines. Pero, just as a correction, majority of the witnesses, pareho din. Kasi, for them to establish, for example, that there's going to be drug trading in National Bilibid Prison, pare-parehong witness yung ginagamit nila. Nag-iiba lang doon sa taong supposedly may binigay para sa campaign and in what year. So yun lang yung pinagkaiba nitong pangatlong kaso na ito. No? Iba yung some set of witnesses. Pero in the recent manifestation filed by the prosecution with respect to the next sets of witness that we will be presenting, napakarami doon ay ginamit din sa criminal case 165 at 166 wherein in both cases, Senator Ryan de Lima was acquitted.
Now, I mean, given all of that, nagulat po ba kayo dito sa denial of bail? Because a lot of people were openly expecting na baka naman pagbibigyan na dito, and because also nagsunod-sunod din naman yung some reasons to celebrate on your side, on the side of Senator Leila de Lima, and people were feeling optimistic about this. Certainly this is not even the decision, parang petition for bail lang. Nagulat ba kayo na at the turn of events?
Alam mo, Ed, lagi namang may disbelief no, sa kampo ni Senator Ryan de Lima kasi right from the very start, hindi naman dapat umabot sa ganitong kalayo itong kaso na ito. No? When the facts are fabricated, when the facts are invented, when these are false accusations, of course, you will always be in disbelief kung paano nakakalusot yung mga ganitong gawa-gawang kaso. No? Having said that, iba siguro yung disbelief sa nagulat. Marami sa amin ang hindi nagulat kasi we have to remember that the greater context for this case. This case is a political persecution case. At ang dami ng mga nangyari sa kasong ito na outside of the playbook. Diba? Mahigit 7 judges have recused themselves from trying these cases or have left for various reasons. Nakita natin na convicted felons yung mga primary witnesses na hindi nga tinatrust ng society to vote, hindi tinatrust ng society to dispose their own properties. Kinukulong nga kasi threat, hindi pa pagkakatiwalaan. Pero all of a sudden, pagka may sinabi sila against a human rights defender, a former justice secretary, a former chairperson of Commission on Human Rights, who is being politically persecuted by no less than the president, as exemplified by his own language, and as found by a lot of international bodies, biglang pinaniniwalaan, no? Yung mga convicted felons na laway lang ang puhunan, no? So a lot of these things actually amuses us. So nagulat, hindi ako masyadong nagulat personally, pero am I in disbelief? Oo, dahil lagi naman tayong umaasa na sana sa huli, katarungan din yung mananakit.
So, attorney, baka naman meron ding silver lining, ano? Kasi the rejection of this bail petition will allow you to file a petition for a writ of habeas corpus. Binabalak na ba ninyo yon? Are you preparing, or will you appeal muna the bail?
Alam mo, Amy, right from the very start, no, nung sinasabi ng government, sinasabi ni Secretary Remulla na sana mag-file daw ng habeas corpus case. Right from the very start, sinabi naman namin na we will consider that. But the big difference between the habeas corpus case of Gigi Reyes and Senator Ryan de Lima is, if you would recall, dun sa kay Gigi Reyes, nag-file na siya ng petition for bail at na-deny. Ang habeas corpus kasi in these proceedings are extraordinary remedies. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan i-avail mo muna yung primary remedy mo. No? So, right from the start, sinabi namin, open kami, pero hindi pa in all force. As of the moment, we are heavily considering it. We are conferring with Senator Ryan de Lima. Nothing is precluded at this point when it comes to the available remedies to her, including the petition for habeas corpus.
Attorney, do you think that the political persecution that was present in the previous administration is still here now? And is it still as intense?
In terms of intensity, definitely it's still here. No? What this case exemplifies and pleadings being filed left and right by the prosecution exemplifies na they're still out there to make sure that Laila de Lima will rot in jail. A human rights defender will be silenced. No, so that's very clear. That is very clear. As to whether it's not as intense, there are several gestures, as you can see in the media, na sinasabi, okay, ano daw, open na raw sa kalayaan ni Laila de Lima, di ba? Pero sa amin kasi sa defense team, it ain't over until the fat lady sings. That means that iba naman yung mouthful lamang at verbal lamang ang sinasabi. Iba rin yung actions, no? So, kung gusto talaga, naniniwala talaga sila na dapat makalaya na si Senator Laila de Lima, nasa kanila naman yung bola, no? The Justice Department can easily withdraw these cases. If they find that these pieces of evidence are incredible, and they're incredible because they're not true. They're all fabricated and invented. That's first. And secondly, alam mo ko, hindi pwedeng lagi na lang sinasabi na, alam mo, mag-habeas corpus and all of these things, no? Kailangan, tutuhanin na rin ng Department of Justice, no, na hindi raw i-oppose yung mga bagay-bagay. Like yung, sabi, pag for humanitarian grounds, hindi i-oppose. But in that petition for bail, merong argument on humanitarian grounds, di ba? But the Department of Justice still filed their opposition. In fact, in the acquittal, 90 plus pages pa yung motion for reconsideration ng Department of Justice. Pero it's very basic in constitutional law that an acquittal cannot be appealed unless there's grave abuse of discretion. No, napakalinaw na doctrine yan, sa basic yan sa constitutional law. A first-year law student would know that. Pero yun, binabaliktad pa rin as of the moment. No? So baka yung sasabihin, siguro yung may mas maganda na siguro yung ina-utter about Senator Laila de Lima, but as to whether nagtutugma yung sinasabi sa ginagawa ng mga ng Department of Justice, hindi pa namin nakikita yung consistency.
Sir, yung recantation po ni former Bucor Director Rafael Ragos at kay Ronnie Dayan, people are expecting na kahit paano it would have an impact on the third case, at least yung bail petition. Well, obviously, hindi siya nagkaroon ng impact. Pero at the same time, I also understand they are not witnesses in the third drug case. So, saan po yung connection? How could it have had, or how could it have impacted the bail proceedings?
Well, we think which is what we're going to face, no. Pwedeng sa amin reversible error lahat itong mga ito, no. Dapat na ma-take into consideration in the ultimate analysis yung pagkasiguro presenta namin, no. Meron naman kaming option i-presenta yung mga witnesses na ito, no, including si Rafael Ragos, no. What it shows is that the entire machinery of the state was actually used to persecute Laila de Lima, gag her into submission, silence her, prevent her from doing her job, prevent her from questioning the violent drug war, prevent her from dissenting, diba? And registering basically her protests against the murders that were happening left and right during that time, no. So napakalinaw sa amin na ginamit talaga yung buong makinarya ng Estado, at kung merong magpapakita yung recantation ng mga witnesses, it's not just Rafael Ragos, si Ronnie Dayan, si Adorco, si Kerwin Espinosa, all of whom were used as witnesses in various forums. It's not just in one court or another, no. Ang pinapakita nun, gawa-gawa talaga at pinwersa itong mga inmates na ito. Like si Peter Ko, who's still a witness in this particular case as identified by the prosecution, no. Si Peter Ko, tandaan natin 2 or 3 days before nag-testify as a witness, pinagsasaksak yan sa loob ng National Bureau of Prison. Yung kutsilyo pierced through his lungs pa. What does that show? It shows na the testimonies are under duress, and they were being used by the ones who have full control of their security to make sure that they testify. No? Aksidente lang ba na pinagsasaksak sila Peter Ko at that point in time? Those are things na kailangan makita. So the overall picture of this case, the fact na si Rafael Ragos pagkatapos willing mag-testify, drop sa case. no? The fact na sinabi ni Kerwin Espinosa, sinabi ni Ronnie Dayan, sinabi ni Adorco na pinilit sila ng Secretary of Justice mismo. The fact na involved even the Public Attorney's Office in getting the testimonies of witnesses. All of these things should ultimately, we believe, matter even in the third case.
Sir, kung hindi si Ragos at hindi si Dayan, kanino mga testimonya umiikot bale yung kaso ng prosecution dito sa pangatlong kaso? Well, maliban kay Ko.
Kay sila Polanco, yan, yung mga yung as you would be able to read in the order, no. Sila Herbert Polanco, yan yung mga nag-testify in this particular case. And makikita rin naman sa order is parang hindi na take into consideration yung cross-examination ng defense, no. Parang tinake na lang hook, line and sinker yung mga testimonya, which is what we're gonna raise as well in our motion for consideration.
Sir, obviously patuloy pa po ang defense for Senator De Lima on this front. Pero nung na-dismiss yung dalawang kaso, there was a lot of talk about while she goes on defense on one front, there is an opportunity, maybe even a need to go on offense on these two cases that were dismissed. Is there any progress or even any continuing discussions on this, even as you continue the defense for this remaining case?
Always, Senator Ryan De Lima in her various dispatches has mentioned that there will be a day of reckoning. No? Right now, we're just focused on her defense, but there will always be a day of reckoning.
But on the other hand, yun namang prosecution, you mentioned already the motion for reconsideration of the acquittal of the second case. Na kumusta yan? Anong status nun? Because they're saying, well, you had I think you were here when we had the former spokesman, si Harry Roque. Sabi niya, may pagkakaiba naman daw yung mga recantation na yan at dapat daw hindi pinagbigyan yung recantations ng mga witnesses. So, anong status nung motion for reconsideration na final?
So it was filed, no? We filed an appropriate responsive pleading, a motion to quash. Naniniwala kami na it's basic kasi constitutional law, no? Because of the constitutional prescription against double jeopardy na hindi pwedeng mag-move for reconsideration ng acquittal, no? So ang final namin is a motion to expunge, no? And it's now up to the court to decide that, no? Pero malinaw naman yung malinaw yung fact ng kaso na iyon, and we believe that in the end the judge will stand by his moral conviction because totoo naman, inosente si Laila De Lima at alam ni ng judge.
Pero sir,
Going back-
okay, go ahead.
Now, going back to the question of Robbie about being on the offensive, no? In an interview kasi Attorney Tagardon mentioned the possibility of filing counter charges against those involved in her arrest and detention. Okay, so first, is that something you're considering? And secondly, are you also considering that maybe, just maybe, because of this possibility that, if and when Senator Laila De Lima gets freed, that she might retaliate by way of filing charges and, making her quote-unquote persecutors pay for what they have done. What are your thoughts on that scenario?
Well, of course, I'll echo my fellow defense counsel. No? Of course, that is always a consideration. As Senator Laila De Lima, former Senator Laila De Lima already mentioned, there's always going to be a day of reckoning. Alam niyo po, pag binabol yung justice system, nag-manufacture ng evidence, naggumawa ng inventong kaso, they went against their sworn oath as sentinels of justice, as lawyers. Kailangan, di ba, panagutin sila, no? Pag nagpagamit ka sa pagpapakulong at pag-iimbento ng kaso, hindi ba dapat lang panagutin? Kasi what kind of justice system do we have if we don't protect it, no? Actually, hindi lang si Senator Ryan De Lima ang may obligasyon na to, no? Obligasyon ito ng isang bayan ng Pilipino na panagutin yung mga nag-frame up kay Senator Ryan De Lima. At ano naman natin frame up ito, no? So, there will be a day of reckoning, and of course, we will file charges against them. And ang lagi namin sinasabi, di ba, the wills of the Lord's justice may be slow, It grinds slowly, but it grinds exceedingly fine. Hindi lang naman yung hustisya dito rin sa Earth, di ba? Dito sa mundo natin. Pero yes, in this world, we will be determined to make sure that we will extract accountability dun sa mga tao ng baboy ng ating justice system.
Pero hindi kaya dahil doon, could that be the reason also why she will probably blocked all the way and that she will never get the freedom that you're fighting to have her enjoy?
And that's the reason why they wouldn't want Senator Laila de Lima to be out, because they know that she will always stand up for what is right and courageously fight for her rights and the rights of Filipino people and what is right and just, no? Kaya naman nakakulong si Senator Laila de Lima, alam niya naman yung pinasok niya na battle. And that's the reason why I am standing up for her. We are standing up for her too. Because yung laban yun para sa tama at sa hustisya, di ba? So, kung ang pipiliin nila, hindi lumaban si Senator Laila de Lima, hindi si Senator Laila de Lima yun, di ba? That's out of her character. So, you may be correct, no? And they may be correct to do that. But again, ultimately, there's going to be justice. They will have to look our creator in the eye someday, diba? There will be justice, but Senator Laila de Lima will try to exact her fair share of accountability while we're still here.
Attorney, hindi ba pwedeng i-file yan even before the cases against her are fully resolved? Pwede naman mag-file ng counter charges?
Pwede naman, no? Pero of course, we are studying our options. Ngayon, nakafocus pa tayo sa defense ni Senator Laila de Lima. We have limited resources, we have limited manpower, we are facing the awesome machinery of the state, no? Na dami-daming abogado niyan, ang dami-daming prosecutors yan. We're always outnumbered. So, ngayon, focus muna tayo sa defense. We are confident that justice will prevail in the end kasi malinaw na malinaw, inosente si Senator Laila de Lima.
Sir, sa bill decision, sinabi po kasi ni Judge Romeo Benaventura that the evidence of guilt appears to be strong against Senator Laila de Lima. For us non-lawyers kasi parang, ano yung sabihin nun? Mukhang ito na ba yun? Is this an indicator of what the judge thinks of the entire case? Can you tell us what exactly this means and what the implication is of these words?
Evidence of guilt is strong is the quantum of evidence required in determining bail. No? Ang bail, provisional liberty lang yan. No? So iba yung evidence of guilt is strong sa proof beyond reasonable doubt, which is in criminal cases the quantum of evidence that is required to be met by the prosecution. In other words, just because the judge says may prima facie case doesn't mean that there is proof beyond reasonable doubt and eventually hindi na pwedeng quit si Laila de Lima, no? Remember that we can still present evidence as well. We can cast shadows of doubts in the evidence presented by the prosecution. But as I mentioned a while ago, not to preempt, of course, the judge and the remedies that we're going to file, we believe that that is reversible error, and that's the reason why we're filing for a motion for reconsideration. Because right from the start, we don't think that the credibility of these witnesses were assessed properly. As I've mentioned, itong mga witnesses na to are convicted felons, convicted criminals who committed crimes involving moral turpitude.
Okay. Attorney Dino De Leon, abogado po ni Senator Laila de Lima. Attorney, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Attorney. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sana kung pwede, for the public, to continue praying for Senator Laila de Lima. No? Kailangan nyo nandasal ngayong mga oras na to. At sana we can collectively watch this case because it only shows that the persecution of Laila de Lima continues.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Ingat po.
Salamat, sir. And we just need to take a short break and we will start another interesting conversation. After that, keep it here on the Chiefs.
Welcome back. With us in the second half of the program is Surigao del Sur 2nd District Representative Johnny Pimentel. Good evening and welcome to the Chiefs, Congressman.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening po sa inyong lahat and to your televiewers. Magandang gabi.
Congressman, naka-adjourn ng Congress ngayon, no? The first session is over. Tahimik naman at wala kaming naririnig na
We had
Nagula.
our Senate adjournment last May 31.
Yes.
And we will resume session on July 24 sa sunana ni Presidente Marcos.
Usually po, yung ganyan ang ano namin may mga realignments Parang calm before the storm. Are we expecting a storm sa reopening ng Congress dahil, well, considering what happened in the previous weeks, no? Kailan-kailan lang. Medyo...
I don't think so. That there will be a storm during the SONA, just like what happened in 2018 when former President Macapagal Arroyo took over the position of speakership from Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, no? Ganon din yun, Senate Day adjournment, then on the day of the SONA, medyo nagkagulo. In fact, na-delay yung SONA ni Presidente Duterte for almost 2 hours because there was a commotion regarding the struggle on the leadership. But this time around, I don't think that it will ever happen. So what I've said before during my press release and a previous interview with another station, the leadership of Speaker Martin is very, very stable. The support of the congressmen coming from the different political parties is very, very strong. We have a super majority coalition that is supporting Speaker Martin Romualdez. If we look at the numbers, 95%, almost 95% of the congressmen are supporting Speaker Martin. Tignan po natin, let's run down the figures, no? Lakas CMD political party has 71 members in Congress. And NUP has 45 members. NP has about 42 members. NPC has 39 members. PDP has 32 members. And the party list has 60 members, but I believe 55 all are supporting. And then we have the independents, which totals about 11. All of these political parties, including the party list, already issued a manifest of support to Speaker Martin. If we will total the number, that is 295 members of the House of Representatives supporting Speaker Martin out of 314. That is already, sabi ko nga, almost 95%. So I believe this is another case compared to what happened in 2018. As I've said, I don't see any problem this coming SONA. I don't foresee any struggle in the leadership. I have talked with the members of Congress coming from different parties, and they all said that they give their full support to Speaker Martin Romualdez. So wala po akong nakikitang problema.
Sir, if I may, sir, I understand your point. No storm expected. Pero let me try to reframe it. What about a tsunami? Kasi, for example, you're looking, of course, at Sara Duterte and Gloria Arroyo, who don't appear to, well, that's the euphemism, but they don't seem to look eye to eye with the Speaker Romualdez. And these two are not small fry in the political landscape. Not to mention, of course, that you're talking about Sara Duterte, who's also, of course, a daughter of the former president, basically the head of your party. So
let's take it one by one, no? Una yung issue kay former Speaker President Arroyo. I believe that has already been settled. Because in fact, if you will see, during the oath-taking of Senior Deputy Speaker Congressman Don Gonzales, former President Arroyo was there, no? Katabi sila during the oath-taking. And then after that, there was other events the next day. Former President Jammeh was also there. And as I believe, as far as this issue is concerned, that has already been settled. In fact, after that, we would say a small ripple in Congress, the tensions have already been diffused. We went about with our work normally. We were able to pass bills in first, second, and third reading. Kung may gulo, hindi sana namin nagawa yung trabaho namin. Now, So with regards to that issue, I certainly believe that's already finished, that's already been settled, and as I've said, let's put it at that way, and let's not exaggerate it anymore. Now, in the case of the Vice President, we respect her decision to leave Lakasimdi. She has her own reasons, but we do not know the reasons at this point in time. And then she released this statement na yung ginawa niya, biro lang, no? And any disagreement is just a part and parcel of a democratic process because we are in a democracy. We can say what we want, no? And that doesn't mean that there will be big problems as far as political parties are concerned or regards to the work or with regards to the leadership in Congress. Leave it that way na nagsabi lang siya na what she feels, but she has already stated that she gives her full support to President Marcos, and Speaker Martin, remember, is a first cousin of President Marcos, and we all know very well, as far as Philippine politics is concerned, you can never be a speaker if you do not have support of the president. And in this case, I think President Marcos has given his full support to Speaker Martin. So, minsan alam nyo, I urge the media to tone down also this what is going on because it is fueling the fire, no? Wala naman talaga dapat pag-awayan. As I've said, this will only be a distraction to the work of in Congress as far as Congress is concerned because ang involved dito yung leader ng Congress, which is Speaker Martin. And he has told us, let us focus on our work. And so far, I believe that Speaker Martin has accomplished a lot during our first session because out of 42 bills of President Marcos, we were able to pass 33 bills on third reading. So that is a record-breaking accomplishment for Speaker Martin. 9 bills na lang ang naiwan sa itong priority bills ni President Marcos.
Sir, yes, sir. We do acknowledge that. Salamat po. But at the same time, we cannot help but also pick up the barbs issued by no less than the Vice President. No? And while it had been quiet for a few days, only yesterday, meron na naman pong in-issue na statement to the effect that she did not owe her vice presidency to the speaker. That's certainly not something that the media squeezed out of her. There were also words that were used, no? Particularly tambaloslos. And it doesn't help that she was doing it on social media with Senator Amy Marcos, who is the sister of the president. So, you know, all of this paint a picture now of some kind of a divide that's, growing between the speaker on one hand and the vice president on the other. What would you have people
the statement of
think about this?
Vice President Sara was an offshoot of the statement of Congressman P.D. Barsaga. She just said that Speaker Martin was never in the picture when there was a negotiation between President Marcos and Vice President Sara before the elections, no? But as far as I know, Speaker Martin was the campaign manager of Vice President Sara Duterte. But anyway, we hope and we pray if ever there is something within this quote-unquote rift that is happening, we hope that this will be settled soon, no? Probably there could just be a misunderstanding, miscommunication, but I believe that they're still good friends. In fact, during one of the events wherein President Marcos, sinabi niya that BFF pa rin sila. Now, President Marcos will be the key in this situation, no? Because he supports Sara Duterte, he supports Speaker Martin, and being the president, I believe it is in his power to resolve this matter. Ang sinabi ko na, let's not exaggerate it anymore, no? Huwag na ho natin palakihin to. Let's not put meaning into the statements. As you have seen, Speaker Martin has not released any statement, no? It is only the congressmen. In fact, this morning I released a statement that this is just, we are we are a democratic country in this. I just would like to reiterate what Sara Duterte, Vice President Sara Duterte said. It's part and parcel of a democratic process. What happened in Congress, if there was ever a planned coup d'etat, again, it's just a political exercise. And everything I know that all ends well, no? So what we must do right now is focus to be united, especially in the leadership, so that we can move forward.
Yes, sir.
Sabi ni President Marcos, babangon tayo muli. Hindi po tayo pwedeng bumangon kung ganito ang sitwasyon natin. So I believe that in due time, let us wait. This will be resolved.
Yes, sir. Sir, we do understand, of course, your desire to present a united front. Pero how should we interpret it when the Vice President herself cannot say the middle name of the President? Sabi niya, hindi ko and he says it in public. Diba? So, may
it was meant as a joke. But, as I've said, some people, especially maybe yung mga political rivals, have put meaning into it. But she already stated in a statement that it was more to humor the audience. So, let's leave it at that, no? Kasi masyado nating hinimay-himay. Hindi natin alam talaga what is going on, what is really in the mind of Vice President Sara. But to put meaning in the words, every time there's a statement, magkakagulo po tayo. So, and that is why I commend Speaker Martin. He's not released any statement. He's just kept quiet because he do not want anymore to make this big fuss, make this a big thing.
Congressman, kasi iisa lang yung pinatatamaan lagi ni Vice President Sara Duterte. At kaya tuloy-tuloy yung speculation because everyone knows she had a hand noong nagkaroon ng coup d'etat, nung nabanggit nyo na nga, nung panahon ni Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez. But anyway, you mentioned the need for unity. Sabi nyo, it will be up to the President. Pero within the parties, are there any initiatives ongoing para mag-unite ulit, para magkasama-sama?
Yes.
You're a super majority, no?
In Congress, it was not blown up in the media, but before we ended the session, nagpirmahan po all parties an alliance agreement with Lakas CMD. We also, PDP Laban, made an alliance agreement with Lakas CMD, NPC, and UP, the supermajority members of the supermajority coalition, even the independent congressmen signed an agreement with the Lakas CMD. Now, what is the provision of this agreement? First, that the agreement will be effective only up to the adjournment of the in 2025 of the 19th Congress. Second, that all the parties will give their full support to Speaker Martin Romualdez. Third, that all the political parties will also give their unequivocal support to President Marcos. And lastly, that all the political parties that signed the agreement will support the legislative and executive agenda of the President. So it is very clear. We are united. As I've said, 95% of the congressmen not only supports Speaker Martin, but the entirety of what has to be done to improve the economy, to uplift the lives of the Filipinos. In short, everything. We work together to support whatever direction the President wants to bring us. No? So,
Congressman, are you reaching out to the Vice President? Kasi wala naman siyang pirma dyan eh. Saka alam naman natin yung mga alliances, medyo fragile yung alliances in Congress eh. Yun ang, kaya tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung speculation. I mean, Anything can happen overnight in
I
Philippine
don't think-
politics.
You know what? This is the first time that happened in Congress. Well, as far as I'm concerned, in the 17th, 18th, 19th Congress, we never had this alliance agreement in between the political parties. So, ngayon lang po nangyari ito. So, we can, as far as the 19th Congress is concerned, I don't think it's fragile. It is, ikangang matibay na agreement ito.
Will you try to bring in the Vice President dyan sa alliance na yan? Kasi parang nawala siya sa alliance, nawala sa unit team. Except,
Well, at
of
the
course, he's still a
moment-
friend of the President, no?
Yes,
Yan
but
lang.
at the moment, Vice President Sara Husleri resigned from Lakas. So he's not a member of any major political party, but she has still her local party. So, and besides, itong alliance agreement is an alliance agreement in Congress only, among the members of political parties in the House of Representatives.
But of course, hindi rin natin maikakaila, sir, that the influence of the Vice President when it comes to politics is vast and huge. And we're talking about congressional elections in 2025. No? And we also all know that campaigns begin the day after an election. So isn't it too far-fetched for you to say that while everything now is hunky-dory, as it seems, because of this alliance that you've all signed, that this will hold in the next, well, let's just say in the next reopening of the session and through the whole
It
session?
will definitely hold because you know what? I have been in 2 congresses wherein the speakership was disputed. No, if you recall, in the 17th Congress, pinalitan si
Speaker
Speaker Alvarez, his former GMA. In the 18th Congress, nagkagulo din after 15 months because pinalitan ni Speaker Lord Velasco si Speaker
Yes.
Cayetano.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, this is the most stable Congress in the 3 terms that I have been in Congress. Wala hong mangyayari, believe me. Ako, makikipagpustahan ako. As I've said, it is the most stable Congress that I have been in.
Sige, sir. Abangan namin yung stability na yan.
Ay, pasingit ako ng isang
Yeah,
tanong.
go.
Sir, anong balita kay Pangulong Digong? Wala bang may communication ba kay Pangulong Digong? Kung anong...
President
From time to
Duterte.
time po, we have a meeting with PDP and we still have 3 members in the Senate. No, 4 members. Senator Robin Padilla, Senator Francis Tolentino, Senator Bato de la Rosa, and Senator Bongo. And from time to time, former President Rodrigo Duterte attends our meeting because he's the chairman emeritus. And he already released a statement. He will never leave PDP. Actually, former President Duterte is the guiding light of PDP right now. Although we are the smallest number of in Congress, but in the local officials, sa mayors, governors, we're still the dominant party.
Okay. Sige sir, maraming salamat sir.
Thank you,
Si
Congressman.
Congressman Johnny
Thank you.
Pimentel ng
Thank you very
Surigao
much
del Sur.
po. Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi po. And that's all we have for the Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao.
We hope what is discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
And I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5. We are one news, all sides, all the time.